Earlier this week, Apple rolled out its new Buy Now, Pay Later program called Apple Pay Later. They only rolled it out to a few users because it's in its beta stage, but later on in the year, they will roll it out to more eligible users. Normally, I'm against Buy Now, Pay Later programs, but this Apple program seems a bit different. I'm going to tell you why. Hi, I'm Nadia, one half of the Wealth Twins, so let's jump into it. When Apple announced that they're jumping into the Buy Now, Pay Later programs, I was a little disappointed because I feel personally that the Buy Now, Pay Later programs, they prey on low-income individuals and credit invisibles. If you don't know what a credit invisible is a person who does not have a credit score and does not have access to credit, or their score is so low that it can't be scored. So these are people who are being penalized and don't have access to credit that gives you a lot of ability to do stuff in this country. There's at least 30 million individuals who do not have access to credit. So this is a wide open market for these agencies to be able to prey on these people. Now, not having access to credit leads to a lot of problems. But when you see these new Buy Now, Pay Later programs like Affirm or Klarna, and they say they want to help these individuals, you're not really helping these individuals, giving them the ability to buy purchases now and receive it early. And I think this hurts a lot of people because if you actually miss a payment, you're going to have to pay interest on your purchases. Now that's where Apple comes in, and it's a bit different. Apple Pay Later is Apple's bnpl program, which bnpl program stands for Buy Now, Pay Later. Now, Apple Pay Later sounds similar to Afterpay, but it's a completely different program. Afterpay is another company that provides Buy Now, Pay Later loans, but Apple Pay Later is directly through Apple financing. When it comes to Apple's new Pay Later program, there is no interest and no fees, and you're able to split up your purchase over 4 payments over the course of 6 weeks. With Apple Pay Later, you're able to borrow anywhere between $50 and $1,000, and you get access to it through your Apple Wallet. In order to participate in the Apple Pay Later program, you will have to apply for a loan within the Apple Wallet. Now, when you apply for a loan in the Apple Wallet, it is going to be a soft pull on your credit. So it's not going to be something that's going to impact your credit score at the moment. But once you get approved, you'll see the Pay Later option when you go to checkout. After that process is done, whenever you want to take another loan out to pay for a different purchase in installments, you can do that through the checkout process. It will be a different application process. It will happen at the checkout. When it comes to seeing all your outstanding loan balances, like all the purchases you have on Apple Pay Later, you can see that all in your Apple Wallet. If you have an Apple credit card right now, you should be used to seeing these transactions and when the payment is due, but it's going to be something similar for Apple Pay Later. It will tell you what payments are due, when they're scheduled, and you can see this up to 30 days into the future. You're able to use Apple Pay Later on your iPhone or your iPad, but you have to have iOS 16.4 installed. The reason I'm interested in Apple's Pay Later program is because there are several differences when it comes to Apple Pay Later than it comes to those other BNPL platforms. For instance, Apple does not allow you to link a credit card to your purchases in Apple Pay Later. You have to link a debit card. The other platforms allow you to link a credit card in order to pay for your installments, which is essentially robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're paying for a loan with a credit card, which is essentially another loan, but at a higher interest rate. So I applaud Apple with not allowing people to be able to link a credit card to Apple Pay Later. Now, one of the things I like about this Apple Pay Later is that they will not report late payments to the credit bureaus for you, and they won't charge any interest fees if you miss a payment. If you need to defer your payments or change up your payment schedule, you would just have to contact Apple support. If you do start missing payments, they won't report it to the credit agency, but you will no longer be able to use Apple Pay Later as a feature when you go to checkout for your purchases if you miss payments. Now, when it comes to reporting to the credit agencies, coming up in the fall, Apple will start reporting these loans that you're borrowing through Pay Later to the credit agencies. This could help you possibly build up credit because it shows that you have some outstanding loans out there, but they do not reflect any of the payments that you're making on time. Hopefully this will change in the future, but right now this is not a feature. Now, if you weren't aware, these Buy Now, Pay Later apps, even though they say they're helping people, they don't allow you to build credit. But what they do is allow you to get a loan and put yourself in debt if you do not pay back that loan in time, and you're going to get charged with interest that can be very high at times. If you're concerned about building credit, you should not depend on these buy now, pay later programs. You should work out a way that you can build up your credit, because that's what you're going to need later down the line if you want the best rates for your money. If you can get a small credit card, I'd rather you pay in installments on your credit card than using a buy now, pay later app, because it will help you build up credit in the future. On top of that, if you link a credit card to pay for your purchases in these buy now, pay later apps, you do not get fraud protection that comes with most credit cards. If someone steals your identity or buys something that you don't know about and you're stuck paying for it, it's a lot harder for you to fight those transactions. So it's better for you to use a credit card instead of using these buy now, pay later apps. When I heard the specifics of Apple's Pay Later program, I went out and bought stock in Apple, and I'll tell you why. Mainly because I see it as a way for them to keep their consumers coming back to them. Not only do they have the Apple credit card, they're going to roll out the Apple savings account, which is a high yield savings account. And they're going to have this Pay Later program that allows people to buy purchases not only through Apple. You're able to use Apple Pay Later with multiple vendors. This is a good thing because Apple's user base has a lot of young people who do not have access to credit, but they may have disposable income that they can use on Apple products. But also they have plans to roll out a high yield savings account for Apple Wallet users. Now, if you wanted an Apple Wallet, you have to be on Apple's platform. You can't get access to Apple Wallet through Android phones. This is another way that stops people from wanting to leave Apple. Now you can finance your purchases through Apple. Say you want a new iPhone, you can finance that purchase through your Apple card and not have to pay any interest and pay that in installments. If you want to buy something outside of Apple, you can do that through Apple Pay Later. And then if you want to use a savings account, you have that all built into the Apple platform, which will make it a lot harder for you to want to leave Apple and go through another platform like Android in the future. Sitting back and looking at this, it falls more in line with what Apple's trying to do. Does Apple's customers stay in the Apple ecosystem? Not only are you buying your products through Apple, you also have a credit card that you can finance your purchases through Apple. And if you don't want to use a credit card, you can now finance those purchases through loans through the Apple Pay Later program. And then if you do have the Apple card, you get daily cash back on purchases that you can take that daily cash back and move it into your high yield savings account. This is very interesting because now Apple is not only acting as a tech firm, but they're also acting very similar to a bank. They're financing, they're lending, they're running credit checks, and they're developing savings accounts. If you look at Apple the last couple of years, they have been moving more and more from tech company to tech and finance company, especially when they partner with Goldman Sachs when it comes to the Apple credit card. The only thing that Apple doesn't have is a banking charter, but they're doing a lot of things that a bank does. But their move into the Pay Later program has allowed Apple financing to take more of a star role. Apple is understanding what their customers need and providing it for them so that they have no reason to leave Apple in the future. I think this is a very strong move. And on top of that, Apple pays a dividend. I think this is strong because Apple is a tech giant now, but if they're moving more and more into the finance space, they're giving their users what they need and they're providing it for them and they're already trusted. I think it's a smart move for the future. Even if they're taking losses now, I think more and more people are going to be used to using Apple as a finance source just as much as they're used to using their products for technology. If you look at the margins that Apple currently makes on its financing program, they're like 70% margins that they make on their financing business. If they continue this and they really start pushing more and more into the finance business, I think they're going to give a lot of competition to banks right now who cannot provide the same products or the same customer service or the same flexibility that Apple has. I think Klarna, Affirm, and even the big banks should be worried about Apple getting into the space and really getting a foothold into financing. If you're interested in buying a stock like Apple and getting paid dividends, check out the description below. And if you want to learn more about how to invest and build your wealth, think about joining our Wealth Pack newsletter. You can find the link in the description below. Please subscribe to the channel because we would love to have you as part of our community.